I'm all over the place. I was talking to my wife today. We were talking about strength and what strength is. And we have strength all mixed up. We've got that mixed up. You look at a person's life and you see struggle in his life. And you say, man, he's weak. Yeah, you got it all wrong. You look at a man's life and you see struggle in his life, but you see him still standing. What you thought was weakness was strength. Oh, yeah. Strength is not qualified. It's not revealed or exposed by your ability to keep the mess away from you. Strength is manifest by how you handle the mess when it comes and whether or not you allow it to wipe you out. That's why Proverbs says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Are you hearing me? All right, so just a little caveats. There's some things, man, a lot of people in here, so I got to make sure. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God, the children of God. Now he's going to tell you, he told us a few verses earlier who the children of God are. Now let's go back to verse 14, that same chapter, Romans 8 and 14. Come on, let's read this all together. For all who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God. In other words, all those who can tap into the prophetic of God, and not only tap into it, because tapping into it is one thing, walking in it is another. Oh, Jesus Christ, help me this afternoon. Tapping into it and walking in it are two totally different things. Because you and I can tap into it and close ourselves up. See, when God gives you a word, particularly, I'm not talking about something that you speak to one another. We'll talk about that another time, maybe later. I'm talking about when you tap into the voice of the Lord, right? And it's an instruction. When you receive that word, you have a period of time to do it. And in that period of time, there is a grace and a strength. Because when God speaks something to you in the spoken word, in that word that he speaks to you is the ability to do it. Or he wouldn't speak it to you. Hello. And so there's a piece of time where there's a grace for you to actually do what he told you to do. But if you don't do it, then you missed an opportunity. And God has to either bring that word back around in some sort of way or give you a new word. Now, the problem is, it wasn't as simple as you just not doing it and then everything is okay with your heart. Because you chose not to do it, there's a callous, there's a layer of callous now over your heart. Which means that when that word comes back around, it's going to be even harder for you to do it. Are you hearing what I'm saying? See, disobedience is dangerous. Not simply because it's disobedience, but what's worse is it creates a hardening of the heart. Oh, God. And so now, before God can even give you the new word, now you got to have heart surgery. I'm just being straight. Because there's some of you who have been very prophetic at certain times in your life. But repetitious disobedience has calloused your sensor. Right? And so you think God is not speaking to you. The prophetic is alive. It's flowing at all times. Hebrews 4:12. The word of God is living and powerful. It's alive. It's to be tapped into. It's like a fountain that never runs dry. Jesus said, I'll be in you, a well of living water. But a calloused heart prohibits us from being sensitive. Yeah, God's speaking, but now what I got to do is I got to back up and lay out. God, break up the fallow ground of my heart. Hello? Circumcise the foreskin of my heart so that I can hear you again. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. You and I cannot be seers unless our hearts are pure. Oh, Jesus. Just tell your neighbor, it gets real when you get into it. It gets real when you get into it. Just tell him. God is calling our movement and others to embrace our prophetic identity, our prophetic destiny. Because the prophetic is not a denomination. Okay, I'm a Baptist and I'm a prophetic. And I love the Baptist church. Came up in the Baptist church. Thank God for the Baptist church. And their place in the body is much larger than most people think. We have a tendency to count people out because of the way that they do what they do. And that's folly and foolishness and anti-Christian. Prophetic is not a denomination. What church you go to? What denomination? I'm prophetic. Oh, well, cool. I'm a Presbyterian. No, man. The church is prophetic. The church has always been about hearing from God and moving in accordance to what God has spoken from the very beginning. 12, go. God said, go hang out. And grow that to 120, hang out 120 in the upper room. Hang out. What's next? I don't know. What you going to do? Wait on God. And God shows up again on the day of Pentecost, speaks, preaches the word. He says some things, and a whole bunch of people gather. Then the apostles are praying about what to do next, and they begin to move and move and move, and then they move out of Jerusalem and all to the othermost parts of the earth. And then all of a sudden, oh, the gospel is not just for the Jews, it's for everybody. Yes. So it was a movement. And it never stopped being a prophetic movement. Hearing, speaking, doing. Yeah? So God is shaping us now into our truest identity as a prophetic people. And it's a journey. It's a journey. But it's an exciting journey. I was listening to a gentleman named Graham Cook. And some of you may know him. If you don't, get on his website and find out everything you can find out about him. Buy every book that he purchases, that you can purchase from him, and pick up every CD that you can, because he's got a word for this generation. And like with any man of God, including myself, eat the chicken, spit out the bones, because nobody is Jesus but Jesus. But this man has a word. And he said something. I was listening to a tape of his, and he says something, and he said, what's the difference between being prophetic and being a prophet? And he said 20 years. And it was funny, but it was so true. We have to mature into this thing. Yeah? We got to grow up into it. And there's some foundational things as we begin. I can't talk all day, but there's some foundational things that as we're making this transition, and me and the leadership, we're praying, because it's going to be a beautiful thing. It's the most exciting season that I have ever embraced in my ministry, in my pastoral apostolic ministry. It's exciting because I know what God's going to do in your lives.